So you are welcome to C++ class once again. So what we want to do today, we want to look at the simple structure of C++ language. So just like in any programming language or any scripting language, anything like that, scripting or programming, the first thing we need to do is to write comments. So the first thing is comments. And you are already familiar with different commenting style. We have the single line commenting, the one I've just done right now. And we have the multiple line commenting. If you look at it, if I remove this, it doesn't look blue again. So, but with the single line commenting, it's looking blue and it's not executable. So if I want to do multiple line, so this is the style for multiple line commenting. So you can go to another line. It will continue to be blue, even if you want to continue to the 10th line. So that is why you need to close it. So closing is like this. So the next line will no more be blue. So that is about comments. So the first thing you do is to write comments. Then the next thing that you do is to write your preprocessor directive. So, and the next thing for you to do is to declare your namespace. And the next thing is your main function, without which your program cannot work. So now, for this simple program, the structure, this is the structure. If you can follow this structure, you can write a simple program, a simple C++ programming language. So my comment for this one will be my first code. So anytime I go there, you already know the meaning of, the importance of commenting. It's when you make comment at the beginning of your code, anytime you go back there, you already know what that code is all about. You can write your name as a comment, the time that you wrote it as a comment, so many things. So my first code, then that's a single line commenting. Then the preprocessor directive, the preprocessor can be for inclusion or for definition. For the one of inclusion, it might be that you want to include a library. When you want to use a particular function, that function must reside inside a library. So you have to include that library in your code. Then you can also include a file. If I've written a file before, a particular source code before, maybe I've written something on registration before, and at the same time on student registration, and I want to write something else, maybe on all allocation, and I need registration in order to be able to allocate all. So instead of rewriting all the code again, I just need to include that file, that particular file that I want to use. I just need to include it. So if you are including a library, you make use of the hashtag, right? That hash is the preprocessor. It's indicate that this is a preprocessor line. So IOStream. IOStream is a library. It's an input and output library. It contains so many input and output functions, and the most popular ones are the cout and the cin that we are going to use extensively in this course. So for example, now also if you want to include a file, just write hash include maybe file name. You write the name of the file, that's what I mean. File name, maybe it's a .c++. You can even include a C file. It's not only a C++ file that you can include. The only thing is that that particular file must reside inside that particular, inside your laptop or your computer. So I just try to show you this one so that you see the way to include another file. There's another thing we call definition, but it's not part of simple C++ programming. So let us go into that one now. We'll get into all of that later. So you include your library, then you declare your namespace. Namespace contains declaration of some functions, of some input and output function, like cin and cout. So you have to declare it. And this is the way we declare it, using namespace std. So that's the way to declare namespace. And you can see that it ends with a semicolon. It shows that it's a declaration and it's a statement. It's not a preprocessor. So what happens is that when they are writing, when they were compiling, and they were writing or developing C++, they only put the definition. If you want to create a function, you need both the definition and the declaration. So it was only the definition that they have inside the IO stream. The declarations of some of these functions, they are not there. So they now created another thing that they call namespace. That's where they put the declaration. So you will see the way it works. So the next thing is the main function. It's main. So you don't forget your right and left braces. So we want to make use of the function called cout. It's an output function, and the first program to write is hello world. So then you save. So I let me call it first code 1, because first code exists before, and you make sure that your save type is C++, then you save it. So we now have this one. Let's run this and see the way it works. So that is hello world. Let's make it bigger. So that's hello world. So you are greeting everyone that hello world, you are here to write code. So now this namespace, let's comment it out. Anything you comment, the compiler cannot see it. It's only for you. So the compiler will not execute it again. Now we have added comments to it. Let's run it. So you can see the error that say error cout was not declared in this scope. So it's like the compiler does not know the meaning of that cout because it has not been declared. It is only the definition that is inside the IO stream, and the compiler will not see it as its definition because the declaration is not there. So that is the usefulness of that namespace. Then there's another way of including namespace. Instead of writing that line 10, that using namespace std, you can write the scope resolutor. So when you write the scope resolutor, it's also the same thing. So when you write the scope resolutor, it's also the same thing. The next thing for you to do is to run it, and you will see that it will now work perfectly. Hello world. And so you can see it. So, but this scope resolutor, if you want to use it on every line, you will be writing std scope resolutor, std scope resolutor. Instead of, if you have a very big line of code, thousands lines of code, how many std scope resolutor are you going to write? What about if you forget? So instead of going through this way, then it's better for you at the beginning to write using namespace std from the beginning, and you are covered. Anywhere you use cout, in, all other one, get car, there are so many other input and output functions. You use all of them without writing your scope resolutor. So you can see that this one will work perfectly well, even without this, writing scope resolutor line by line. So that is the simple structure of a C++ program.